Hey guys, it's Sugar. I'm here with my husband Jeff.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about summer 2018, which is going to be our new picks. So, we're continuing, so we're just kind of going over what's new for us.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's slim pickings, kinda. Ooh.
Kinda. It's been a weird season. I didn't expect much of it, but been a couple of surprises, but the majority to me is a lot of misses. Let's start alphabetical order. Angolmois, Genkou, Kassenki. Sorry about that. I'm just slaughtering here. So anyways, it is seen as a historical anime about the Mongolians. And it's not historically accurate in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of the characters they use are fictional. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. But I think the thing that most stood out to both Jeff and I is just the god-awful filter on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's... For those who haven't seen it yet, they have this filter on it that we thought would be perhaps sparingly used, or perhaps used just to, like, accentuate certain scenes, which makes all of the... makes the whole show kind of look as if it's an older style of parchment or something like that.
Yeah.
And while the effect kind of works now and then, it just becomes really distracting after a while.
It just reminds me of somebody who's like a hipster, and it's just like, oh, if I put a filter on it, it'll be so amazing. And I was waiting for it to dissolve the entire time, and it stayed even during the fucking credits, and that drove me nuts.
There was times now and then when we were watching, and then I would think, like, is our screen dirty? Like, do I need to clean it? Because I wasn't sure if that was, like, the filter, or if that was something wrong with our screen, or something like that. Like, yeah. I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond the filter, it has a unique sort of art style to it, which sometimes works in its favor, other times it doesn't. But all of it is kind of pushed aside by the fact that you've got this filter that, especially when you have like dark colors, blacks and navy blues and whatnot, you see the filter. You don't see anything else, and it's very distracting.
I don't want to say it's as bad as bad CG, where it's just like really noticeable, but especially when you get to night scenes, oh my god, it's all you notice, and it's really irritating. Because then it takes your vision away from the smaller details which you'd normally focus on. And so that was irritating. But I can say the pros of it is, like you're saying, it had not a completely unique art style, but one that's a little different from the norm. And I also think there's opportunity for decent fight choreography, but they've already shown that some of the physics aren't normal, so I don't know what to expect.
They take some creative license with
physics.
Well, with physics, and I mean, it's playing more into like the mythology of samurai as opposed to what the reality was. Because if you study what samurai and ninja and all of these people were actually like versus what stories are told of them, the stories are mythical in the sense that you're basically turning them almost into superheroes in a way. And so that's kind of what they're reflecting, which again kind of clashes with this idea of it being a historical anime.
I always feel disheartened, which isn't to the fault of... I can't really point a finger at anyone per se, but when I always like cringe when I see historical on a tag for an anime, because I so badly want it to be historical, not just like based on a true story. That's like, it might as well be what's on the tag. And because I was like, as soon as the show
based
started
on
up,
historical events.
Yeah, because as soon as the show started up, I was like, I don't know this person. So right away I was looking it up. I was like, okay, they don't exist. That's why. I was getting frustrated. I was like, okay, this isn't that kind of history then. So I was like, okay, it's just kind of there for the ride to get a basic premise of these things that kind of happened,
Yeah, like the events in question happened.
Right.
The characters and the way in which this is all going to play out and particulars are not really addressed. They're a framing device to tell a story.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, so far, I've been interested in the story that they're telling. I am interested in the characters that they've put forward so far, even though they are kind of standard archetypes. You've got, a pirate who's just like I'm in it for the fun. And, you know, sometimes I find fighting people in war fun, you know, and you've got the samurai who, you know, is kind of honorable and denies the fact that he's looking for a fight, but sometimes kind of has this smirk on his face like, ooh, stuff's about to get intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got the slimy merchant who is just looking to escape and, like, you know, stay alive because he's got a bunch of money and wants to, you know, just go off and retire somewhere and live in the life of luxury.
I can say that the part that I did enjoy was, like, something happened and you had different groups of prisoners and they're like, okay, this is my plan, I'm going to do this and this and this. And it's like, based on history, that's a bad idea, that's a bad idea, this one has the likeliest chance of living. Like, that's kind of funny in that sense. That's what my delight is right now. I was like, that won't work, that definitely won't work. So that's kind of where my thrill is, because I'm at the point where it's like, okay, a lot of these things aren't factual. It's just kind of on, it's kind of like if somebody said, okay, a historical film on Noah's Ark, and everything about it was nothing related to the Bible other than the fact that there was an ocean and there was a boat and there was a flood. That's like, it's like, oh, I get the basic premise, which is the same thing of, like, the samurais defending Japan from the Mongols in, what, 1274, roughly?
Something like that, yeah.
That's the basic kind of, you know, outskirting story.
The most interesting thing that I found about it as I was watching was takes place on the island of Tsushima, which, of course, there's a video game coming out soon, which is literally called Ghosts of Tsushima. So maybe we'll get more of the more realistic history from that.
Yeah.
Not to say that something can't be historical fiction in a way and not be enjoyable and entertaining.
Right.
Golden Kamuy has been very entertaining.
Oh, a lot of stories, like 300, are insanely entertaining. Not at all accurate.
Yeah,
like, it's one of those things where I just kind of have to switch off that part of my brain to enjoy it. And I'm not saying this is bad by any means. There's just things that are bad about it and things that are good.
If this was in the last 2 seasons, I think it would have been a drop.
Huge skip, yeah.
But with how this season is, it's like, well, beyond the ongoing stuff, this was fine. You know, it's okay.
Yeah, so I think that's all that needs to be said about that, because that's really what it is. And we've only seen the first episode of that one, so it's not much to go off of if they're going to keep doing this stuff in regards to filter and physics and what have you.
Nothing about it is overly unique, but nothing about it thus far beyond the weird filter they chose is, like, inherently poor.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like I'd rather watch Golden Kamuy because it's like it has a lot of, like, insanely, like, charismatic people who are fucking insane. They're all, like, kind of doing their own thing, and each plan is viable. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that enthralls me, where it's like, okay, this is awesome, but you know.
And this one also does that thing where it flashes forward to what looks like will be what's happening in the final episode. So you're already kind of like.
And I think that's fair, because if you know history, you know what's going to happen. If it goes to that, you know, basic line.
Of course.
So I think it's not like, oh my god, they spoiled it. Where it's like, if you've ever, like, heard much about history, especially Japanese history, it shouldn't be a shocker. But hey.
If you've ever heard anything about the Mongolians, you probably have an idea that shit is going to hit the fan.
So the next one is Asobi Asobase. Jeff didn't like it as much as I did. I thought it was very funny. It's very, how's the word? Innocent at first appearance.
Yes.
But it very much takes, like, a wicked turn. Not to, like, Pop Team Epic levels, but very much like, it's really funny because some of my older friends and I could totally see us being like them. It's just the fact where you go too far, you take games too far, you make jokes too far, like, everything's just a mile further than it needed to be, sort of thing. And so that's the girls, and some of them are very perverted, very funny, very dark, you know, whatever. That's kind of my humor, so that's it made me laugh. Jeff found it more on the awkward side, more of a...
I laughed.
You did. You legitimately
laughed. At times, and then at other times I was just like, whoa, okay, like, that's awkward. And to give it some context, when I watch something like The Office, I find I don't enjoy it as much as a lot of people, because to me it's just awkward people putting themselves in awkward situations and reacting awkwardly. And to me,
I love it.
That makes me more cringe than it does like make me laugh. But every episode of The Office, because I have seen like a few seasons worth, every episode will make me laugh at some point. Yeah. But it's like, you know, half the time I'm laughing and half the time I'm just like, oh god, that's so cringe.
It's gold. It's gold.
I'm
talking about The Office being gold.
Yeah, The Office has very good people working on it. This one just... It depends on the person. Yeah, I was left speechless a lot of the time. I was just like...
That's what I said to Jeff. It was really funny because I watched it without him initially. And he was just like, so this is... Because I said to him, it's kind of like prison school in the sense that it's kind of takes a darker turn than its first appearance. And of course, you saw the opener. Of course, it's like that generic cutesy girls going through a meadow sort of thing. And I was just like, just keep watching. And then the end is like them in like hardcore, like not heavy metal, but like almost like death metal sort of thing. It's very much, their relationship. It's very much like darker, more serious. And then it gets very lighthearted and then very funny. So
I was going to say, I never found it to be overly serious. It's definitely like...
serious in the sense of like tone, like in their attitude towards certain situations where it's like, well, that got serious really fast. Or it's like that escalated to 10 without like much...
okay, escalation I meant that way. For sure.
Sorry, okay, I meant not dark as in like gory or anything. I meant dark as in like, it went from like 0 to 10 in a very short amount of time.
Because, I mean, you can do... I feel like when I'm watching it, I'm just like, you could do this better. Like Hazuki does this... what I feel is similar to this, but way better.
But Hazuki is another thing where it's based not in reality. You know what I mean? This is based. Hazuki is based in hell. This is based within like a school parameter sort of thing. I
feel like it's, and I mean, it's a viable way to go, but it just feels like they were like, let's take things that kind of happen in everyday school. Let's turn it up to 11.
Yeah.
Let's just assume that all three of these people are legitimately terrible people, and they just for some reason
I wouldn't say
are
they're
friends
terrible.
with each.
I wouldn't say they're terrible.
Pathological liars.
Pathological liars.
Definitely, one of them has some mental issues with what happened in her past.
Yes.
And
but I mean,
the other one basically like kind of preys on both of them being like
gullible
with one another. So it's like
that was basically our friendship.
See, I had friendships that were based around mutual like love and respect, not let's dial this to 11.
Let's go to 11.
And so I don't know. It just it's another one of those ones where it's like it makes it seem like well these three are losers and nobody hangs out with them, so they're gonna end up hanging out together. And then you find out maybe the reason why people don't hang out with them is because they're awkward and weird and twisted, and I don't know. It's not bad by any stretch. It's just, if I'm going to be watching something that's a comedy, I want the comedy to hit all the time. Miss Kobayashi's hit for me all the time. That made me laugh all the time. Whereas this one, it's like half laughing and half kind of like...
And see, the humor saves it for me, because initially I was like, oh, it's too bright. I don't like that kind of oversaturation look.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even call it oversaturation. It's just like somebody took up the brightness counter way too high. And then their side profile looks, I don't like that type of animation, but the humor itself saved it for me. And so I think to each their own. You have to watch the first episode. And if you like it, it'll keep doing that.
And some of the animations I didn't like either. Like they would abruptly like change their style and like it would be ugly. And it's purposefully ugly. But it was kind of like, ooh, I don't...
It's to get a point across of, like, their moods and stuff. So if it's, like, meant to be, like, very disturbing, they kind of go for, like, what's the stuff you'd see, like, in The Ring, where it's, like, very etchy. It's not etchy, that's not the word I'm looking for. Sketchy, jagged lines, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Etchy means something else when I'm talking about anime.
E-T-C-H-Y is what you meant,
not E-C-C-H-I. Or E-C-H-I.
I mean... I could see them going that direction with this. That's the thing, too, is that, like, I don't know what direction any of this is going to go.
I'm questioning how I spell it.
And,
is it double C's or one C?
It's double C's, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is double C's. I was right the first time. I questioned myself.
It's going to be one of those things where if I don't have anything else I'm watching, like, I might check it out just to kind of see if it gets a laugh, but...
I'll be watching it.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Because it's my dark sense of humor.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe it's something that, like, if you've had those sorts of friends before, it hits with you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not to say I didn't have my share of weird friends who we did weird things. Like, I literally, one of the games that we played was you took an eraser and you did it on the back of your hand until you flinched. And
so gross.
To this day, I still have a scar. I had a friend who melted the linoleum in my kitchen. Like, and he broke 2 windows. And so, like, I've had weird friends and stuff like that, but it just was never, like, this.
Yeah. Or I've had lots of friends that were like this, where it's very much just, yeah.
It feels to me like they are latching on to a comedy fad a little bit too late. Because it feels like what they are doing is stuff that others have already done.
Well, everyone's done this kind of stuff. It's just, this is done in a different art style. It's done in a different sense of humor where they pull in other things. Like, if you're really looking at it critically, everything's been done. If you're looking at it that way. But, like, it's still humor. Humor still kills me.
What their teacher / principal did kind of
that was a little gross, but it wasn't ill intent, if that makes sense.
Just watch it and you'll see how you feel about that.
You'll see it.
In episode 2, does he come back and do something weird again?
No.
Because
I was watching.
I was afraid that that is something they would bring back. Like the chapter was literally called, like, The Kind-Hearted Pervert or something.
Well, that's because of we won't get into it because I'm not going to spoil it for you. But that's because of what she saw in the pool.
Yes.
That wasn't to do with him. So anyways, let's pass that on because I feel like any more would be spoiling it. So the next one is Attack on Titan, and
it 100% follows the formula that episode 1 is a big thumbs up, with exception to all of the drama apparently being because they play the pronoun game. You get a letter and you don't read it, because that's what you do with a letter, is not read it. But
I gave it the utmost chance. Like, I didn't even watch, like, somebody said to me, it's like, oh, the bootleg one's up. I'm like, no, people will get mad if I don't give it a fair shake. I will watch it when it's in its complete form.
Glory.
And it's in its, I'm going to call it glory. But the opener is a really weird disappointment. Like, yes. I know it's more melancholic, so to speak, and it's just weird. It was disjointed. It wasn't like the other openers. I was very much expecting the same kind of orchestral, lyrical thing, but it was not. It was it was just disappointing. And the first episode wasn't bad per se. It was just the fact that it likes to do what it always does, which is maintain the formula, which is first episode will be pretty low key, and then we'll have our big kind of tense moment of holy crap. Which of course it did, which is no surprise. I expected it fully. And it still kind of leans... I'll make a full video of it because I'll be doing... I'm assuming the whole series because I'm quite confident it'll be having the same problems that I've talked about before. But if it doesn't, fine, I won't have to do it, but I'm pretty sure it will. So far in the first episode, very much the pronoun game, the that game, the it game, notes that are passed along that should have been read, like Jeff was saying. Just screaming. It's just like their favorite thing to do is scream. Lack of logic in a lot of their actions or sequences. Some of the physics that aren't accurate when they're fighting and stuff. It's going to be another season of me to criticize, and I know it will be.
Like, it just feels like they lean so heavily. I mean, I'll be the first to say that I haven't watched a lot of Attack on Titan. But from what I've heard from other people who are like, I just love how like tense and dramatic it is, and that nobody's ever safe. And I'm like, but it seems like they manufacture that in ways that is like basically expecting the audience to just accept that people are stupid. That this show is full of people who are stupid. People who aren't going to read a note right away. People who are going to say, oh, well, he's responsible. And then you never say who the he is. Like, all of these things are manufactured in a way so that it keeps mystery happening. It keeps drama and suspense because they act like idiots.
It's something I talked about excuse me, in the second season, where they try and make it seem like it's a mystery show, and in fact it's manufactured mystery, which isn't mystery at all. It's something that's made to put on a facade so that the viewer believes such. And I feel like Jeff wasn't saying the viewer is stupid. It's just the fact that
the people in the
show, yes, they write things in a way that make it seem like it's clever, but when you really think about it, it's not.
And to be fair, like if you pick through everything with a fine-tooth comb, most of it's not going to be exceptionally written. I mean, I feel like with something with something like Death Note, I feel like you could pick that apart really hardcore, and people it still makes logical sense. Whereas this doesn't.
I think with anything you can go over with a fine-tooth comb. It's the fact that I think my problem with Attack on Titan isn't the fact that I think it's the worst thing ever, because a bunch of you seem to think that I think that, is the fact that everyone praises it and gives it such high scores for doing next to nothing. And people are like, wow, that's amazing. It's the same as having videos of car crashes and that's entertaining. That's, whatever. It is a form of entertainment. It's not good entertainment. And that's, I think, my biggest problem with Attack on Titan is that fact. Yeah. It's not the fact that it's terrible. It's not like the worst anime I've ever watched. It's just the fact that I think I keep going after it is because everyone keeps telling me, every time I run into them, this is the best anime ever. And it's just like, it's not. Objectively, it's not. Like, I'm glad you enjoy it. That's another thing. Subjectively, it can be the best thing to you. Objectively, it's not.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of people saying that because it's not good enough to be objectively the best. And that's what lots of people are ranking it on MAL in real life, and it sickens me.
Because, I mean, the anime that usually get this distinction of being considered, in the upper pantheon, I think you can objectively say that they deserve a lot of that credit.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop deserves a lot of that credit. Dragon Ball Z for having created or at least refined a lot of the mechanics of, a battle shonen moving forward deserves some of that credit.
Well, even during that season when it competed with My Hero Academia, I believe it got, it might have changed now because it's been a while, but it had even higher scores than My Hero Academia. I could point out more things wrong with Attack on Titan than I could with My Hero Academia.
Of course.
And there's no way they should be in the same league. Ever. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not.
It's not.
And again, that's not saying enjoyment. One of my favorite anime of all time is Baccano. I can tell you things wrong with it. I know other people won't like it. It's not the best anime of all time. It's great. It has a lot of great qualities, but it also has problems. And we've gone over it before. There is no perfect anime, but there's ones that are pretty close to it in regards to, objective checklists.
Yeah. I mean, Attack on Titan seems to hit a few things where, there isn't anything like it in terms of the fight sequences that it does because of the maneuverability of
the
everything.
Gear and stuff,
That the Titans themselves are creatures of terror. They are disturbing. They're meant to make you feel not necessarily helpless, but definitely this is gross. This is horrifying, and it does a good job of that. But it just kind of breaks apart in the sense of well, maybe the human beings here should just be smarter people.
There's a lot of I don't get into it.
And apparently, from the first episode, there needs to be less cleaning.
God, that's what we all needed in the first episode is fucking cleaning. I couldn't believe that was in there, and I was like, way to just fucking. Oh, I was just mad. Not even gonna get into it. I've already made notes on the first episode, and I'm gonna keep going with all the other episodes and explain what was wrong with them. If you don't like it, well, too bad. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Give the view, give the dislike. Yeah, that's fine by us.
But I do really care about what you think about it in the same extent, but I feel like there has to be some accountability for Attack on Titan. It can't just be this is the best ever. It's the same people that are SAO is the best thing ever. It's it's not. Objectively, it is not. Same with Attack on Titan, so let's not do this.
That's where I was going with the idea of I can see the argument for somebody being well, Dragon Ball Z is the best anime. You're wrong, but I get where that would come from.
It's a classic pillar.
Yeah. And or somebody who will talk about, Hunter x Hunter, which we're getting to the really good stuff. I'm okay, I can now see what the argument was. But somebody coming up to you and being like, SAO is the best ever. I'm like, it probably wasn't even the best isekai in that season that came out. Never mind the best anything ever. And thankfully, it looks like it's getting...
in its season, I think it was the best isekai, but I can't remember at the moment. But
well,
there's not very many isekai.
If you count its first core, maybe, because as soon as they get to like episode 13, it jumps off of the deepest, stupid cliff and kills itself on the way down. Ugh.
We won't get into SAO again. That's another baby. That's
no. It's garbage. It's terrible. Go watch Log Horizon. Go watch Dot Hack. Go watch what's going to be on here later, Overlord. Go watch any of these other things that actually move the genre forward instead of spinning around and then digging itself into the dirt.
Anywho, we'll let that be for now. So I guess the next one would be Banana Fish. It's been well received as far as I've heard. We really like it. Very much the 80s aesthetic in regards to animation. It's basically about guys that go to war. They realize there's a drug there that kind of messes with people. They come back home, find out the drug's still there. Our main character gets involved in gang-related activity and so forth. And yeah, that's kind of our basic premise of the show.
Yeah, it definitely does kind of evoke that whole 80s feel, and not just in the animation style, but also in the storytelling that they go through. Definitely there's kind of like an attitude towards being part of, the gang and part of organized crime, and something that was big in the late 70s and early 80s in terms of like film.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. I like the main character. I always find it interesting when an anime can create a character who is obviously doing the wrong thing. Like they're obvious, like he's a criminal. Mm-hmm. He is a very good criminal in the sense that he's very good at breaking the law, right. And yet you're kind of rooting for him the whole time. You're just kind of like, yeah, not so extreme, but it's like, yeah, shoot that guy. Yes. Awesome. So it's a different dynamic from something like Cowboy Bebop, where what they're doing is technically legal because they're bounty hunters. This is 100% illegal, but you still kind of have that same feeling of like, man, I kind of want him to succeed in his criminal element.
Yeah. Like Ash, who's our main character, is very much kind of our old school sense of a pretty boy. He's bad, yet he's good, and people love to love him and love to hate him, even though he's hated, he's beloved in an odd way. So I think it's a very fun show. I think it's very worthwhile, and very much a sucker for older style anime, especially aesthetically.
Very good fight choreography.
Yeah, so far it's been pretty good.
It reminds me a lot of like what Cowboy Bebop did, which is that what's happening is not outside the realm of possibility, but it's like very almost like a dance at some points, the way that he's fighting. And they do a lot of, especially in the first episode, they do a lot of like hand-to-hand combat. There's just a big old brouhaha in a bar, and there's a lot of really good hand-to-hand combat that happens. It's stuff that seems... I haven't been part of a big barroom brawl. Ooh, that was a tough one for me to say. But it seems like stuff that would like realistically happen, where like people are just breaking bottles and like taking pool cues and smashing people, and it's like, okay, I could actually see that happening.
That's what happens.
And so it's just kind of neat to just look at that and be like, I could actually sort of see that happening in this sort of lifestyle. And Ash kind of reacts to it like it's just something that happens every week.
Yeah, it's kind of like the environment he grew up in. As far as I remember, he was an orphan, and the guy who kind of runs the mafia is the guy that looked after him, but at the same time, he's not a good guy. He's a very bad guy.
I mean, they're all bad guys.
No, but it's a really bad guy.
Yes.
So yeah, I think you should give it a watch. I really like it. I'll be watching it.
Mm-hmm. There's the mystery of what exactly Banana Fish is and what that all has to do, but then there is just kind of the action, living the life of a criminal and trying to maybe be a little bit more honorable in being a criminal as opposed to when other people around you are just horrible people.
Yeah, it's not like a lot of them have a code. It's not just a free-for-all. There's certain standards of what you should do, like things that are your territory, kind of, kind of etiquette, if that makes sense, in a gang mentality. Yeah, I really like it.
It's a world I don't want to live in, but I'm very, very intrigued to see what happens in it.
Yeah, exactly. It, like you said, it reminds me of 80s movies. I wouldn't say Cowboy Bebop, but I get what you mean.
The hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, but keep in mind that the choreography isn't as good as Cowboy Bebop, but it's... Wow.
We've only had, a couple
I'm just saying.
So far. Fair enough. Yes, don't expect it to be a 10 out of 10, but...
Well, I'm not saying don't expect a 10 out of 10. I'm just saying don't expect Cowboy Bebop levels by choreography, because that's like up there being like a big deal.
Yes.
Anyways, give it a shot. I think you'll like it, especially if you like the older anime. You like the old, like, I don't want to say grungy, but kind of like, these are the streets suck, we're going to try and make the best out of it sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely one of the better new anime that have come out this season.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since it's not like a second season or anything, so that's really nice. The next one, Cells at Work. I've heard a lot of mixed things about this anime. Personally, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a very simplified way of showing how the body works. And of course, since we're teachers, that's great, especially for younger viewers who kind of understand that part of the body, like anatomy-wise, understanding kind of how illness works and bacteria works and things like that, without making people, feel anxious, because there are people who are huge germaphobes sort of thing. But I think it's a very dynamic way of doing something that seems so bland.
For those who aren't or don't know exactly what it is about, you're just following the lives, essentially, of a red blood cell and a white blood cell in the body, personified. Personified,
but we also have more than just those things. We have we have all sorts of things like platelets and other kind of things that fight against germs and so forth, and different mechanisms in the body and different organs and all sorts of things. But it kind of shows what each person's job is, which I feel is a very unique tool, especially in anime.
Yeah, and this isn't something that I've ever... not to say that something like this in general has ever been done before. Anybody who's familiar with Osmosis Jones, we've had a similar concept, but I've never really... I've never really encountered anything quite like this, in the sense that it has a certain sense of humor about itself and about the human body, and about the fact that if you really look at it, white blood cells are literally just assassins in your body trying to kill off any foreign agents. So that is how they are personified. Yeah. Sort of like a mixture of weird knife-wielding assassins mixed with a SWAT team. Yeah. So it's like a SWAT team full of knife-wielding assassins going around trying to kill anything foreign in the body.
It shows different kind of squads of how aggressive they are, because it shows, obviously, the white blood cells aren't the most aggressive. It's another one, and so forth. And then people that operate these groups. And it's very much kind of almost militaristic in a way. Just kind of the controlling to make sure the whole body works. And I feel like there's a lot of avenues they can explore that are viable, and it'll make it still entertaining. Yeah. But when I first heard the premise, I was like, really? This is the bottom of the barrel we're hitting now? But I really enjoy it, ironically.
It's the comedy that really hits me, and not to, talk down to the action scenes that it has, because some of the creature work that they've done for the bacteria looks like it just was lifted right out of any battle shonen. I think I told you that some of the bacteria or whatever that they were fighting reminded me of One Punch Man.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, that looks like it was pulled from One Punch Man. And I was like, that's cool. And yet, the bacteria, it also has a sense of humor about itself and how it reacts to everything in the body. Yeah. So it's this perfect mix of just kind of pure information, they actually teach you something. A lot of comedy built into that. Yeah. And then weird elements of battle shonen anime all mixed together.
Yeah, and it's very good at pointing out even though they're personified, they don't have human brains in an extent they show for the white blood cells, where it's their purpose is this. No matter what else they're doing, they will flock to it. Like, they joke about that right away, where it's like, oh, well, can we grab, like, coffee or something? And it's just like, I have to go. Like, I work all the time. This is what I do, you know, whatever. And so that was kind of a funny joke. But I was really enthused by it.
And our main red blood cell, because I think she's going to be the main
I would think
character.
So, the main focus, yeah.
She's definitely kind of one of those characters where she doesn't know where she's going, and she gets lost all the time, which puts her into situations that she shouldn't be, which, you know, for comedic's sake, they're not trying to be, like, 100% true to what the body would be like, obviously.
They try and have some fun with it.
She's a bit of an airhead and a bit ditzy, but then, you know, you kind of root for her because she's just trying her best to do her job. And she's, you know, looking for the lungs and can't find it, and somehow finds herself in the kidney. It's like, wait, how did I get here? What's happening? It's very funny, and yet at the same time, it does everything well enough, and it's such a unique premise. You don't see that too often anymore. Yeah,
and I know a lot of people will just be interested based on the fact that the red blood cell is based whose voice actress is Kana Hanazawa, and I know a lot of people love her. I'm a fan, so that really helps with her voice acting.
Yeah, you said she's kind of a legend in voice.
She's kind of a big deal, yeah. Kind of a big deal, yeah. She's a big deal. So yeah, that's one thing that'll also interest people, is just having her voice behind it.
Another highlight for a fairly quiet season of new anime.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one is Hanebado. I didn't expect much from it, and I kind of got what I deserved.
That's an interesting way of phrasing it. I thought it would kind of suck, and it kind of did.
So let me explain what my issue is. Everyone's kind of had mixed things of what they think of it, but I'll say from my own personal perspective. If you've listened to the podcast long enough, you know I personally was in sports very competitively. Badminton was one of them. And so there's certain standards I have for the show, which it doesn't meet. First off, every single bloody character calls it badminton. Not badminton, badminton. Yeah. Nobody pronounces the N.
Badminton.
Every character, and I thought, okay, one person's going to say it and it'll be fine, but every single character says it, and it drives me nuts. And I get it, certain dialects just say badminton, but there's no reason that this should be. We have people who are very aware of the English translation and vice versa. So yes, this was in the dub I'm referring to. The other problem I have with it is it's very much not as bad as the volleyball anime that's out this season, but it has fan service, like a fair bit, and unrealistic fan service in my opinion. They're just like profusely sweating everywhere. There's like very defined like ass shots. Their boobs are just swinging everywhere. No one's wearing a sports bra, which is totally like not legitimate when you're playing sports, especially when you have huge honkers. Like seriously. And like that's annoying. And then I hate that it's overly dramatic. Like one of the characters I really hate already. It's just I hate that kind of attitude where she's like excuse me, where she's like, oh, there's someone better than me. What's the point of trying? And it's like, well, if you have that mentality, why even bother trying at all? Because there's always going to be somebody else better than you.
LeBron shouldn't be playing basketball because he's not as good as Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it's like no one should even bother to start training because you're not an Olympic athlete. Like, fuck off. Yeah, and then like some of like the poses and stares and stuff like seem overly dramatic when it's not that big of a deal. And then you have, like, just things that are just totally, like, just kind of beyond. They're not as bad as, you know, I can't ever remember the game you played, which was turned into an anime. It's not like kicking balls and it's on fire or whatever.
Inazuma 11.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that. But it was moments where it's, like, just wicked, like, force lines and then them, like, doing, like, moves that aren't, like, accurate to what would happen in that situation. It just frustrates me.
And I mean, those are just kind of what the genre is going for, or specific, you know, specific anime within the...
So knocked over our mic, sorry.
That's alright. There you go. You know that we don't do retakes. And so...
Except for when we lose.
Well, yeah, if something is corrupted, we have to actually get the recording.
It's happened more than once.
Yeah, you gotta love computers. I can understand why some people like it. I mean, I enjoyed Inazuma 11 as a game, as something that I was playing, despite the fact that they would kick the ball and then it would become, a dragon, and then somebody would try to make the save and literally their hand just grows 10 times the size. And it's like, it's also kind of made for kids, so I get it. But it just seems like you appreciate more realism in your sports anime. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
Just like there isn't anything inherently wrong with this. Lots of sports anime do fan service. Lots of them, and let's be fair here. A lot of people who are watching certain sports are watching more for watching toned bodies do, things that you like seeing great athletes. Great athletes typically look great, so there isn't anything inherently wrong with doing an anime that way, but at the same point, it's just kind of like you don't need to spend your time watching that because you don't really appreciate it all that much.
It's kind of in the sense, like, I really enjoyed Yuri on Ice. I know somebody in the comments or somewhere will be like, but wait, you just said about fan service. Yuri on Ice was really well done musically, choreography, animation, you name it, it did everything right. As for the fan service, it's very much a joke about the industry itself, about androgyny, about sexuality, about the characters, about, and yes, it had a little more fan service that had nothing to do with skating and, whatever. But to me, that was tolerable. To me, that was funny.
It was also more character related. It was building relationships. And the thing with figure skating as well, as everybody knows, we're Canadian, so we definitely pay attention to figure skating. It's just one of those things that Canadians tend to do.
Yeah.
Is that it is first and foremost, beyond anything else, it is a performance.
Yeah.
And part of a performance is you're going to tell a story.
Yeah.
And lots of those stories end up being about, sexuality, about looking a certain way, about trying to appeal to that sort of crowd. And so them reflecting that in Yuri on Ice just makes sense. That's imperative to the actual sport.
Yeah, and I'm not criticizing Hanebado for having short shorts and other things like that. When I used to play, when I used to play volleyball, badminton, anything, I used to wear shorts, and I used to wear whatever was kind of looser, and I could get good range of motion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I never no matter how hard I played, unless it was a really intense game, even we did practices puke and stuff like that. I remember just feeling like crap. I wasn't profusely sweating from my groin and my ass and my everything.
Yeah, and the not wearing a sports bra in the middle of a very competitive sporting event, that's not realistic either.
No.
That'd be like somebody playing Dead or Alive beach volleyball and thinking, this is what beach volleyball is
This is it.
No, if you actually watch Olympic beach volleyball, they wear stuff to constrict the motion of
the boobage.
The boobs, because otherwise they get in the way. They don't allow for the proper movement of your body.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, if you're talking about gymnasts, most gymnasts are actually quite small up top, because that's the body size that enables you to be a very good gymnast.
And balanced.
Being large up top actually is detrimental.
Yeah.
So there is certain body types and whatnot. So I wouldn't think that badminton, not to say that it's impossible, but definitely it doesn't seem like the one that would benefit from having larger breasts, and then ones that where they're not wearing anything.
That's one thing where it shows the smaller chested girls wearing normal bras, but the ones that have huge honkers are just just whipping everywhere, and I'm like, oh my god.
Watch tennis. Tennis has a lot of larger chested women,
which is fine.
But they're wearing stuff that actually helps constrict that, because not doing that makes no sense in a competitive sporting event.
Yeah, it's distracting. It gets in your face. Trust me. It wrecks your swing. It wrecks a ton of stuff. So it's just, for me, I know a lot of people won't care. They'll watch it, and that's totally fine. But for me, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm in the same boat. I just don't care enough about badminton one way or the other to do that. And then the fact that it seems more like it's, its focus seems to be more on titillation.
Titillation.
I don't get the chance to use that word too often. So.
Titillation.
Yeah. And hey, there's lots of anime out there that's all about titillation. So,
yes.
You know what? If I ever feel like watching something like that, I probably don't want to watch a badminton anime.
You never know.
Yeah.
So the next one is Happy Sugar Life. For a second I was like, what? Happy Sugar Life, which seems like it should be, a great time. Happy, fun times. But...
Hey, Happy Tree Friends goes the entire opposite direction, too.
Happy in the beginning apparently is a very big misleader. Yeah, misleading.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, exactly. Dark.
We're getting a theme here.
I was about to say,
Happy blank. Uh-oh.
I'm trying to think of anything else that starts with happy, but... Happy Feet! Oh, God, no, I was kidding. No, that was fine. Yes. Anywho, Happy Sugar Life is about basically a girl in her teens. She is seen with a smaller child. We are unaware of why this child is with her. All we know that it's not her legitimate child or sibling. And you see that the girl in her teens is basically trying to work and do things that will benefit them so she can take care of this child. And we see right away that this is likely, along with the other anime this season, Angels of Death, another edgelord of the season. We have, in like the first episode, we have things like pedophilia. Oh, I should say the first two, I think. Pedophilia, molestation, groping, murder, like you name it, it's there. So not to say I won't watch it, because it's not as bad as Magical Girl Site, where everything was just the worst of the worst, and it's like, let's go even further. This is kind of like...
Let's go beyond.
Let's go, plus ultra.
Plus ultra violence.
Where Happy Sugar Life, which I feel like speaks to why I kind of am attracted to it, is the fact that, as Jeff knows, I like a lot of what he calls murder porn. I watch Dateline, I watch everything like CSI, you name it. And, my specialty in history was Second World War, especially the Holocaust. I also took up a lot of stuff on mafia and things like that. So this all really interests me because it seems very much parallel with a lot of real life stories, which I feel like I don't get very much. This is the first anime in a long time where I see like any names and representations is not like anything in the normal spoilers you get when things kind of blur the lines of reality and fantasy. So I kind of like that, to see where it's going, how she's going to take care of this child, who's going to come along the way to kind of destroy things. I feel like a lot of things could be cut out that aren't necessary, like a lot of, secondary characters that are just kind of really creepy and there to be creepy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like the soul story itself could have been interesting enough. I don't know the source material, so this is specifically just speaking about the anime. But yeah, it's definitely the edgy one this season.
I mean, I haven't watched it, and to be fair, I'm probably not going to watch it. I've had a history of when they get really super edgy, it doesn't appeal to me. Mm-hmm. I gave Mahou Shoujo Site, I gave that a couple of episodes, and I was like, no, I just don't care. It feels borderline exploitative in some respects. It's trying to elicit some sort of a response, and it just doesn't hit with me.
Right.
And that was the same thing with Dory-kun, is that what it is? The one with
Dory-kun
the gambling one with the dental implant.
Yeah, Dory-kun.
I gave that, I think, 2 episodes, and I was like, no, like this is just an excuse to see terrible people act in terrible ways, and and sure, there's a market for that, but at the same point, there's a way to do these sorts of stories that have some sort of merit to it beyond it just being, gross.
Yeah.
I compare it to, like, the first Saw film is actually a very good film.
Right.
After that, it just becomes like, let's see how gross we can get. Let's see how extreme all of this can get. And the further they pushed, the worse the actual films got.
Exactly.
So it's like, I don't need to see that. There's already a lot of, dark anime out there that are still worth watching, despite how dark and kind of gross for lack of a better term, it can get.
Right.
So, I need more happy, not this kind of happy though, in my life. So.
Like I said, we'll see how it goes. If it's still pretty decent, I'll keep watching it. The other thing I like about our main character is the fact that it shows that she suffers with mental illness, which I feel like that's a topic that should be covered more in anime. Because I get a lot of people asking me, like, what anime has, things about depression, anxiety, panic attacks, all these things that relate to mental health. And, I can relate to that kind of stuff. And it's so hard to pinpoint. You're like, well, there's a show where this person kind of shows symptoms of it, but they never really say it, and there's not really, like, a resolution, sort of thing. And it's like, okay, the show's kind of like how mental illness can kind of twist your worldview, can twist the way that you perceive right and wrong, sort of thing.
Then there's also a lot of anime where you could argue that characters exhibit certain things like that, but it's never outwardly stated, and that's like an interpretation. Again, talking about like Cowboy Bebop, you could interpret him as maybe having some form of like depression because he just constantly goes into things that are likely to kill him, because you find out later on in the series why he's like that, and a lot of times he just feels he's like, I'm just going through the motions of life, I'm not living. So it's like you could extrapolate that there's some depression there. Steins Gate Zero, you could argue maybe
definitely PTSD.
He's got PTSD, but then they don't really necessarily discuss it beyond the characters just being like, well, he's not really himself. So it doesn't become, it's not a huge talking point. It's not what the point of the series is. It's just like showing what has happened has affected him.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily saying that every anime has to be like, okay, we have to fully discuss this and, be, like, in order to use it, have it fully discussed within that season or whatever. I just feel like certain shows should take on that responsibility of being like, okay, this is mental health, this is stuff that can happen. And, Steins Gate, I don't expect it to take it on because it has such a bigger story. That's not its sole purpose. But I feel like something should have that purpose of being like, okay.
And I mean, to be fair to Steins Gate Zero, I feel like it does a very, very good job of showing what he has went through in Steins Gate, what effect it has on him. And without it being the focal point, without them like pushing it. It's subtle and they show it really well. So then you could even be like, well, hey, like, I've seen these sorts of things, and a friend of mine who plays off like, they're perfectly fine. I wonder if they've got something that they're struggling with.
Well, I like with Steins Gate Zero, like you said, it's not beating you over with it, but it gives like the very clear signs of somebody who has PTSD, where it's like reliving, triggers, freezing, seizing, things like that. Things
becoming like physically ill.
Yeah.
That
like,
sort of thing.
And you see that with Okabe, where he just over being in a certain place will make him throw up. And that's a problem for a lot of people suffering with PTSD and other mental health illnesses. And like, I just feel like it's a good topic to cover. Doesn't matter within which anime. I just feel like it should be covered more, because I feel like anime is such a great place for people to see themselves reflected more so than many other media or any other place. So I feel like that is a great avenue. But I'm hoping with time that will be more of a well-discussed topic rather than one of being seen as shameful.
So I mean, it sounds like an idealized version of Happy Sugar Life would be talking about the fact that obviously she is unwell and what has made her get to this point and react the way that she does, but it's sounding like maybe that's not the avenue they're taking.
Yeah, it's focusing more on the fact that, just, I think the emphasis will be more just on like the first few episodes I watched, is just kind of like what triggers her to have to be so vicious. It hasn't gone, obviously I'm assuming at some point it will get into the fact of why she feels like this is the right thing to do. It's hinted at some things, and I'm assuming I know where it's going to go, but it's very much at the thing of like, okay, this is what I do to survive, and then some jackass comes along and starts ruining it for me, so I have to get rid of them, sort of thing, in one way or another. And that's kind of the repeated mentality, it seems. But yeah, it's interesting. At the same time, it could be disappointing. So we'll be having like our mid-season and our end of season, so we'll keep you updated, and hopefully it'll be decent.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
No.
I mean, I've already pretty much given this a hard pass. You would have to convince me that it's worthwhile.
Yeah, I'm assuming it might be a stinker just based on some things that are usually red flags. But we'll see. Again, at some point in time, I will make a video about, common red flags I have where it's going to go downhill. And I feel like this is one of them.
Everything Attack on Titan does not.
No, Attack on Titan's its own monster. So yeah. So the next one is The Island, or just Island. It's kind of an interesting anime. It could be rather interesting. It could be a flop. It's basically, the premise is this island has another kind of adjacent island, and for some reason people just kind of wash up on shore and have no memory of what's happened. In the most recent case, a boy washes up, doesn't have a memory of what's going on other than the fact that he claims that he's from the future to change what is happening on this current island. And that's basically the premise of the show.
Yeah, he ends up meeting up with, a few different people around the island. Some people who are just kind of, pulling his leg a little bit or, or humoring him a little bit. Some people who choose to help him. It was a weird mix in the sense that after the first episode, I wasn't sure if this was going to take like a more serious turn and be like an actual mystery where we were going to get involved in that. Or I think I turned to you and I was like, is this going to turn into a harem of some kind? Like, it has just such an odd mixture of like both of those elements.
Yeah.
Because he meets up with, a few different girls and each one kind of shows some sort of an interest in him in some capacity, whether that's just like, oh, I bumped into you, or I'm going to help you with this quest, or, oh, I'm going to kill you, like, so it has some of the hallmarks of what you would think would come up with, like, a harem, and it turns out, oh, all these girls want him, and stuff like that.
Well, that hasn't been proven. There's just girls that are popping up.
It feels like it could go that route, but it also feels like it could take itself a little more seriously and be more about the mystery.
I'm hoping it'll be more about the mystery because it's marked as a drama sci-fi, which lets me know that it should be going in the more serious kind of vein. The girls, I think, are just kind of a choice rather than it being a harem. And I feel like each one has something different they're offering in the sense of, one of the girls is one of the ones that washed up on the beach. She still doesn't have her memory from how many years she's been on this island. We have other ones that have kind of different objectives, different kind of activities on the island. So I think as time goes on, we'll kind of understand what these girls, what their lives kind of entail, what their role is on the island, and why he was sent to the island, and how his impact will impact. That's a lot of impact. How his presence will impact these lives that are on the island, as he says. Which I hope that is the case more towards the sci-fi part, because that's the more interesting story rather than it being, the gooey crap.
Yeah, and it's interesting in the sense that MAL doesn't have it rated very highly.
But it's also this early.
Yeah, and it could also be, like we've seen with other sort of mystery sort of things, if they're taking their time to develop things, lots of people don't like it if an anime, let's say, has an episode or two that's all just about, like, let's build up this world that we're in. Let's show things just kind of being regular and normal before things go kind of nuts. You and I both had that same problem with Steins Gate, where the first few episodes we were like, I don't get what the big fuss is about. Nothing seems to be happening. None of this makes a lot of sense. It seems very great. Everybody's talking about it. This all seems very just kind of like nothing's happening.
I think the difference between Steins Gate and this, obviously Steins Gate, I'm sure will be infinitely better, but I think the difference is with Steins Gate, everything just seemed normal.
Yeah.
Whereas we're given an idea right away that something isn't normal about this island, and the fact that this keeps happening. So that kind of gets your intrigue right away, because you understand that something is amiss here. Whereas Steins Gate is always the fact of everything appears normal.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, I'm not getting what people are fascinated with because nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Where this, we kind of already seen, like, there's things happening.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting that, and it could go somewhere else, but like a police officer or somebody like that gets involved and just kind of is like, oh, so you just washed up here and you don't know who you are, and oh, you think you're from the future? Okay, bye. Like, he just kind of is like, just kind of takes it at face value. So that could be a reflection, either maybe there's more to him than meets the eye and he knows more what's going on, or this is just kind of par for the course with this world.
Well, again, I think you might have missed it. I think that's also leaning towards the fact that something's amiss about this island. So whenever this happens, it's protocol to send you back. And it's like, obviously this has happened more than once. Obviously, there's some place that they dump off these people. Like, there's something odd going on.
Yeah, and I mean, there's like there's somebody in some form of, authority who's like, we don't want any visitors here ever, and so like
obviously something's going on.
Yeah, it builds on a lot of different cliches, mystery wise, but
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's intriguing enough that I want to watch it.
Yeah.
Again, if this was a stronger season, this would be one that I'm like, if I hear good things about it, maybe I'll check it out later.
Yeah.
But with how kind of quiet the season is, I'm like, I could take a slow burning mystery. Sure, let's go for it. And if it doesn't take itself super seriously, if it doesn't get like crazy bizarre, it'll be kind of a nice like exhale from what's happening in Steins Gate Zero, which is very kind of high tense, high stakes. If this one kind of takes it a little bit more calm, it'll be like, okay.
I think it will go not in the calm direction, just because based on there have been flashbacks already of wherever forward or backward, I'm assuming from the future, that he's had. It's kind of like, shit's going to go down,
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be like this fluffy, fresh
I don't know. I still don't know if it's going to be as intense as Steins Gate Zero has been getting.
No, obviously not. Steins Gate's built this world and these people and this situation, which has led into heavy investment, where Island's just kind of like, it reminds me of like a book I would have picked up in the 90s in the library, where it's like, it's just an interesting idea and you want to see where it plays out. It's not like this is going to be a bestseller. This isn't going to be the most amazing thing you've ever watched. It's interesting. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, it's intriguing enough that we want to see what is going to happen.
Yeah. So that's, I think, all that needs to be said about it, because that's really what the show has been right now.
It's, I think, just looking at some of the other things, it has a stunning lack of a soundtrack, which I actually really appreciate. You hear more of like the natural elements of this island, and
the fact that things are amiss, where it's like there's not noise. Why isn't there noise? Or why is there light here? Or why is there?
The performances have been pretty good thus far.
Yeah.
I like how it looks, because like the island that they're on is definitely tropical, but it doesn't have that like it hurts my eyes sheen to it. It's a little bit more muted as to what the general trends have been going towards, so I really appreciate that. It looks beautiful, but it's like,
it's not oversaturated.
Yeah, and it's just like, something's up here.
Yeah. That's cool. And because it's like, that's how you know something's up. Is one of the main characters, the girls, always walks around with a captain's hat, and I was like, that's a sign of something terrible is about to happen. But I was like, we'll see. So yeah, that's Island. The next one is one I watched by myself, which is Late Night Genius Bakabon. And it's very much a show that was from the 70s. It was, it went on for quite a few years, as far as I remember, and it's the best way I can kind of, it's like if you made a crossbreed between The Simpsons and Little Lulu. It's that aesthetic of something that's old, but that's been kind of remodernized a couple times, and it makes that joke in the first episode. It's like, we aren't modern enough. We haven't been on since the 70s. We need to up it. So, of course, some of them get gender reassignments. Some of them, change colors. Some of them get recasted. That's the joke. And obviously, by the end of the episode, everything kind of goes back to normal, but changes like the color scheme of the show and some of the highlighting and things like that. And that's kind of the joke. It's kind of like it's a family dynamic where the dad's the head of the household, but he's kind of dumb, like The Simpsons. That's why I said The Simpsons. It's kind of like a variety hour in the sense that anything can kind of happen. It's kind of a comedy sketch thing. It's it very much reminded me, especially when I found out it was the 70s, that it was very much 70s inspired. It's like, okay, people need something funny, that's what we'll do. We'll make them laugh, and it's about this family. It's always about this family. And so, yeah. I don't really know what else to say about it other than the fact that it was from the 70s, and it's being done again. And it's just kind of a...
Self-aware referential humor is always... It's very hit or miss, but it sounds like they've done it really well here, where they're just like, I mean, yeah, we're old-fashioned, and maybe we need to change that, but then it just goes back to normal, because that's just how television writing works, and whatnot. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it's just kind of, whatever. And it's a comedy slice of life it's marked at, but it's kind of a little bit of everything. But yeah, it's based around this family, old school, but still tries to maintain that humor. One of the things I loved right away was, I don't know if I'll continue with it because, it's kind of stuff I've seen already.
Yeah.
But I liked right away where it had, because I thought for a second, I was like, did I, for some reason, look at the older stuff? Because right away it had the old, school animation, and it had, the 4x3 frame and everything, and of course right away they're like, we have to update ourselves, we have to change the animation, and they're, pushing the screens further apart, they need to see this now, that's the joke, and I was like, that's kind of funny, because it's okay, if we have this, they obviously do want really attractive voice actors now. It doesn't matter if it's, matches the character. We need some really, insanely talented, gorgeous voice actors. So, of course, they get some in, and, of course, they take over the voices. They're like, well, that doesn't sound like you anymore. It's it doesn't matter. I'm beautiful. Shut up. Sort of thing. So, I like that kind of humor. I don't know if I'll keep on with it, but it's something to look into if you like that older style of humor. Mm-hmm. Especially kind of making it modern now. Next one, Overlord Season 3. So, kind of seems like business as usual. Things are kind of going along. I don't know what else to say. If you've watched the other 2 seasons, it seems very much like it's going to keep trucking along. First episode kind of focused on, rewarding them for what happened. I should say, the maids and so forth for everything that happened in Season 2. I don't want to say anything in case you haven't watched it. But yeah, it's kind of just business as usual.
I mean, at this point, you're either in on Overlord or
you're
not.
That's the thing.
So,
I don't know what to say. It's
if you don't know anything about Overlord, it's an isekai anime where your main character, it's stereotypical in the sense that our main protagonist is exceptionally overpowered for this world that he lives in and whatnot, but he's also aware that everything around him is a game that he can sort of play the rules and play the system. So the other thing that it does really, really well is you don't know if there are other, human elements at play.
Yeah.
And so he has to start planning as if another person like him exists out there.
Yeah, if you haven't
it's a lot of a meta commentary on how video games actually work.
Yeah, if you haven't caught the other stuff we talked about, long story short, it's about a guy who plays video games, and the video game is about to kind of be obsolete, and it's kind of a timer until the game is permanently shut down. So he's sitting in the server and in the game and being like, okay, I'm just going to cherish the last, few minutes I have and kind of be at terms with what's happened here in our guild and whatever, kind of our guild hall. And so when time runs out, nothing happens, and then he realizes that he can't leave and that he's stuck in the game, but that we don't know who else is in the game. We don't know if anyone else had this happen to them. We don't know what's happened. We don't know anything other than the fact that he's now in Nazarick. He is the guy who oversees Nazarick and kind of has control of everyone there. And they kind of had to have gone out and kind of do the politics game and be like, okay, we have to treat this like this is our real world now. And
they get teleported. He isn't stuck in his own game anymore. His
he's
group
stuck in the world that is his game.
in a different game, because it teleported his tomb, the tomb of Nazarick, and all of his people, teleported him into a new world that he doesn't recognize at all. So he's kind of okay, I don't know anything about the people who are here, the places that exist, the kind of enemies that are around. And the thing as well is within this game that he was playing initially, he and his guild members were the bad guys. They played the bad guys, and that was it. So he's like, I mean, we're bad guys, so I guess we kind of have to play up that role.
I just kind of have to laugh, because it's things you always think about, when you play games, but more seriously when, something like this were to ever happen, where it's like, God, I wish I'd changed the stats on this one character I created, because, God, they're annoying.
Yeah.
Being here all the time, it's why did I think that was funny? It's not funny now.
Yeah, and there's just all these little touches that, for people who like video games, you just kind of are like okay, yeah, like that makes sense. The people who are creating this, it isn't like with an SAO where it's like, oh, well, everybody just wants to essentially be godly in this world, and you know, he doesn't have any right to really be godly, but whatever, he's protagonist, he's super powerful, he's great at everything.
Yeah.
Where like this makes sense because in the previous game, he literally spent like 10 years building up this great character, and it's not just him. All of his old guildmates had, you know, basically made the Tomb of Nazarick to be this unstoppable machine, and then he's the only one left to command it in this new world. So he has like all of these items that existed in the old world at his disposal now that are like god level items, because after a game's been around for 10 years, that's, you know, you're gonna have god level items and god tier magic and all this sort of stuff that he's just like, I mean, I have it now, but then it's also, then he'll be like, okay, well, I have access to this, but I can only use it a certain number of times. I don't know if anything like this even exists in this game anymore.
Yeah.
So, like,
I love it when
do I use it now? Do I ever use it? Do I only use it in an emergency? Like, what?
Yeah, I love it where he's like, this item's like really seems overpowered, but I don't know because I've never had to use it in this kind of situation, or like I don't know what if it's the same kind of hitboxes or whatever. So he's like, I'll just use it. He's like, oh my god, I overkilled that. Like, I destroyed them.
Yeah.
He's like, oh Jesus, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. And then
like, oh my god.
like his the rest of his tomb is run off of, you know, AIs, but the AIs were programmed by old members of the guild.
Yeah.
And so each one of them is like basically sort of a reflection of somebody he used to know.
Yeah.
And so it's very well done. It's one of my favorite isekai anime because it does something a little different. It is willing to accept the fact that, like, this is a video game. Let's use video game logic. Let's not go in the route of, you know, like, this is real now. This is real life. No, like, it's still a video game. There are still rules. There's still programming that exists. There's still logic puzzles. Like, all this sort of stuff exists. And he's like, I did this for 10 years. Like, but now I don't know what happens if my character was to just die. Like, I don't know if I come back. I don't know anything.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. So now he's like, and then when he starts, the mental kind of game of like, what if somebody else out there is like me and they see me as a villain? Like, I have to play this super smart now.
Yeah.
And so he starts to like plan, like, what if I was facing me? What would I do if I saw me? And he just does all this sort of planning. And it's great. It's wonderful. And like, all the battles are really, really well done.
Yeah.
The performances, I watch the English.
Dub, yeah.
I watch the dub. And I love all of it. Like, all of the performances are really well done. It mixes in a good amount of humor without being wholly comedic. Like, it's not Konosuba or anything like that. But it knows when to use humor, but it knows when to get really serious too.
Right.
It's just a good balance and a very good anime. Opening this season was not great, especially in comparison to. It wasn't as disappointing as Attack on Titans.
No.
But it's still kind of disappointing.
Yeah. So I guess that leads into the next one, which is kind of our coupling, which has happened every season with the new season, which is Overlord Ple Ple Pleides, season 3. And, you know, this, so far, it's just been kind of just random scenarios. Like the last, for season 2, was actually pretty good because it got more into the maids and their kind of role and what they did and their importance in Nazarick. Because I feel like we did see more of them in season 2, but I feel like we got more of, like, their names, what they do, kind of what their class is, things like that, and I feel like that was really important. So far, nothing super important has come up in Ple Ple Pleides for this season, just kind of making jokes about what's happened so far.
And for those who don't know about Ple Ple Pleides, it is kind of just like a little side thing that, like, almost every episode of the anime then gets like a 1.5 minute Ple Ple Pleides.
Yeah, about like 1.5 to 3 minutes,
Yeah, and it's all just kind of like somewhat comedic, but kind of gives you a little bit of insight into some of the other characters that didn't get
enough
a lot of screen time. And like in the second season, he got teleported away from his one game to become like he was like running a business. Yeah, he was just running an office, and he's like, well, I love the way he reacts, where he's just like, well, I don't know what this office does, but if we're going to run an office, we're going to run the best damn office ever.
Yeah, it's like, we'll just do, like, business as usual. And then I love he opens the door. Oh, God, that's sexual harassment now. No. Yeah. Like, I don't want this.
Like, it's just made to be kind of silly and irreverent and just, like, have some fun with the characters and get a little bit of insight into some of the ones that didn't get a lot of that screen time, like you were saying.
Yeah, so that's really all that needs to be said about that. It's very much like chibi, quick little things. So, and the next one, I'm sorry if I'm going to slobber how to say it, but it's Tsukumogami Kashimasu. Basically, it is something we were kind of looking forward to, but we're somewhat disappointed in. It's a brother...
I feel like it didn't really advertise what it was actually about.
Well, let's tell them what it's about. It is about a brother-sister pair that have a shop where they rent out kind of curios. And basically, you find out that these curios, after being loved, kind of take on this spiritual nature. Not yokai, they make that very clear, it's not yokai, but they're... like it. That's the best way I can say.
Yeah, I guess it's fairly well known in like Japanese, mythology that, items that were especially beloved by people, and then it like through the years, if they're abandoned or something else, they essentially gain some sort of a spiritual sentience, and they will come to be a spirit of some kind. So similar in the sense that, yokai are spirits. These are also spirits. They just inhabit a particular item. And so this story is about, like you said, like these two who run a store that is all about renting out items. And some of those items are, in fact, also these spiritual beings. Very oddly kind of like Scooby-Doo-esque in the first episode.
It's kind of like, it gives the impression, like, obviously these Tsukumogami, sorry if I say that wrong, like these little spirit things, they can talk to them, and in this first episode they like kind of help them solve a mystery, just due to the fact that a lot of people don't believe in them, that the fact that they're real. So it kind of becomes like a Scooby-Doo episode of whodunit sort of thing. I don't know if that's how it's going to continue. It kind of seemed a little bit boring. It's kind of took an idea that's already done well and made it somehow more boring. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just the fact, like, I like the idea of, like, the characters, like, some of them, especially, like, the little bat creature I really liked, but then they kind of don't do a lot with it. So I'm like, it could get better, but I feel like it's just going to be meh.
Yeah, it's not something that I'm going to be looking forward to every single week. I like some of the character designs of the... I'm just going to call them yokai, even though they're not yokai.
Yeah, they make it very clear they're not yokai.
The spirits. But then, like, the rules that exist in this world are weird in the sense that, like, the spirits will talk to each other loud enough that the siblings can hear, and then the siblings will kind of talk to them, or talk loud enough that that they will overhear them, and then they kind of talk to each other, but it makes it very explicit that, like, if we were just to ask them, they wouldn't say anything. So it's like,
a lot of them are humans, so... Yeah,
that's weird. And then I like that since they're curios, the siblings kind of play off the fact that since they're curios, they're very curious about things. And so they're like, oh, well, it's too bad that we don't know what's actually happening here, isn't it? And then they'll be like, I really do want to know. So they're like... you would probably be best for this. And he's like, what? I don't want to go. He's like, are you saying you don't want to find out what happens? Well, no, like, I would like to know what happened, but I don't want to have to go and do this. Like, I guess we'll never find out then. So it's like, they have these weird personality quirks about them, which is kind of interesting, but it doesn't seem to be about anything.
Yeah, the couple things I can say about it that are good for it is the animation is rather pretty. The faces and so forth are very pretty. A lot of the character designs, especially the curios, are very sweet, especially the... I don't know what to call him, a fish, but like that's the one you and I both
He almost looks like a marlin in some capacity.
And like some of them are very weak, like the comb, but like the one like the fish and the bat, I like the most.
You know what? I didn't mind the comb either. The comb was reflective of like a dog, but I mean it's also a comb.
But it's also a comb, so that's the thing. So some of them are like creative and cute in that way, but We'll see. I don't think much fruit will come from this show, but you never know.
Yeah, it just... When we were watching, we were like, oh, cool, like, it's sort of, it's all the spirit world, and then they don't really do anything with the whole spirit world, and then they're siblings, but they're not blood siblings, so the weird kind of vibes I got between them, that it felt like they were romantically involved, I was like...
Well, you can tell he likes her, but...
Well, and I think she likes him too.
I don't know.
It's there's just like a lot. It's very much just kind of a very blanket, like, well, stuff happened. Nothing about it was particularly like amazing, but nothing about it was terrible either.
Right.
It just kind of exists.
Yeah, it was just kind of meh. We'll see how it goes, but I don't think much will come of it. So we'll see. So we did what? About 12-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So, we didn't do a super lot just because this season not a lot appealed to us, or all stuff that's just kind of wishy-washy where we haven't heard the best of things.
I mean, there's a couple of big ones. Like, Free has a new season out,
well,
but we've never watched any
it.
of Free.
Yeah, so.
Same
with Gintama, stuff like that. Stuff we haven't been watching. There are a couple ones that we might get into. We'll see how the season goes, and what I hear about it. But that's kind of where it's at. I'm sure, based on how it goes, we'll be sticking with Overlord.
Yes.
We'll likely be sticking with Island. I'll likely be sticking to Happy Sugar unless things get really, really bad.
I was going to say, you got through about 4 episodes of Dory-kun before you tapped out on that.
I think I did more than 3, but I don't remember. I'd have to look.
That's it. I thought you got through 4. I think you got maybe 4 of Maho Shoujo Site too, and then you were like, no.
I was like, I'm tapping out. So I've watched 2 of Happy Sugar Life, so we'll see. If in 2 I tap. That's just how it is. Cells at Work, I'm sure will continue.
Yeah, that's funny.
Banana Fish, which I'm sure will continue. Attack on Titan is my burden. Asobi Asobase, I don't know. I think I'll be continuing. Jeff, I'm not certain on.
Here's what will happen. I can tell it 100%. You will find whatever you think is the funniest moment in that episode, and you'll show me, and I will be happy with that. And I'll be like, that was cool.
That's usually how it goes, yeah. And then Angolmois, Genkou's Kassenki. I don't know. If it keeps that filter on, I might drop it. Just because that just irritates me to no end. There's no purpose of it, really. Depends how the story goes as well. I think there's enough there to keep us interested, so we'll likely continue. So
it's going to be something where I think after the 3rd episode we'll decide.
Yeah.
Like, is the story interesting enough? Because I've liked the combat elements. I've liked some of the characters that they've put in. Mm-hmm. The princess character, I actually really like what they're doing with her. So it's like, okay, there is some redeeming stuff there. But the whole time I was watching, I was like, God, I just wish I was watching more of Golden Kamui instead.
We will always miss Golden Kamui. And, again, that'll be another season we can't wait for, so yay! Mm-hmm. So anywho, what did it say, October? I think October.
I think, October.
I can put that in the comments as well. So, yeah, excited, October. Because, October's my big month. It's Red Dead Redemption, Golden Kamui, and then there's something else in October I'm missing.
I don't know.
Something else. I know there's something. I'll think of it. I don't think it's anime related though.
Sugar is literally like tinting
I
your
am.
fingers
I'm
right
thinking.
now.
I was like, there's something else I'm missing. Red Dead Redemption, Golden Kamui. Maybe it's Stranger Things. We'll see. There's no way.
Stranger Things is in October as well.
I was about to say, I don't think there's any date that is coming out this year, but it's hit October last year. So I was like, Halloween. Halloween's my season. Anywho, that's kind of our pick for the season. Let us know if there's something you're watching that we aren't. Let us know if you're watching some of these picks as well. And where some of your disappointments are. And of course, I'll be continuing with this. We'll have likely a mid-season, end of season, and my likely long rant on Attack on Titan. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me, Jeff.
Oh, of course, as always.
Did you have anything else to add?
I am just very happy that there's a couple of anime that are ongoing that fill the gap, because
this season's a little quieter.
There hasn't been anything in the new stuff that has jumped out to me like this is fantastic. Except for Overlord, because we're like invested in that. But otherwise it's
My Hero Academia will be going, everything like that will be going still, so that's good.
But nothing else really was like this this could potentially be great. It's more like, I hope this is okay.
Yeah, that's basically, this season's a lot of, we'll see.
But that also means that we can catch up on Megalobox. So
there you go. There's tons of stuff I still have to get caught up on. There's stuff on my plan to watch I've been holding off for a long time. There's still the long video I've been telling you about, but you haven't seen anything. That's because I've had nothing but problems. And then, of course, my friends, I can see right on our TV here, she left Black Lagoon, so I've been staying up on to watch it forever. And I still haven't gotten to it, and it's sitting right there.
Yep, and there's lots of, like, just in general, lots of good movies that have been coming out lately. Like, not even anime movies, just like, anime isn't the only thing we do.
I was about to say, just throwing that out there, even though it's not anime related, watch Isle of Dogs. It was so good.
It's animated.
Yeah, it's animated.
And it's based in Japan. So, it's close. It's wonderful.
All of his films are just gold. So, yes, if you get a chance, watch Isle of Dogs. It's very good. So anyways, thank you for joining us. And until next time, we'll see you later.